Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise at this point in our adjournment procedures to pursue a question that I initially asked the Honourable Minister of Environment Wednesday of last week, September 21st. And you may recall, Mr. Speaker, that the issue of ozone monitoring and threatened cuts to key scientists who perform these functions was also raised by the Liberal environment critic and by the official opposition's environment critic. And I'm pleased to see the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment here this evening for pursuing this matter. It's complicated. What we've been able to determine is that a number of very key senior scientists for whom it would not be possible to imagine an easy replacement, decades of expertise in working at monitoring ozone, which at, of course, the stratospheric level protects all life on Earth from ultraviolet radiation. Without the ozone layer, there would be no life on Earth, and we're very fortunate that Canadian government leadership led to the Montreal Protocol to protect the ozone layer back in 1987. Since that time, Canada has always been respected globally as a country that has really taken the lead, done the good science, and been prepared not only, of course, as all countries. This is a great success story that the Montreal Protocol has resulted in countries around the world reducing and phasing out their reliance on chlorofluorocarbons and other chemicals that destroy the ozone layer. So it was a great shock to discover through the media and elsewhere that a number of key scientists had received a letter to suggest that their work was in their position with Environment Canada was in doubt. They received a letter saying that they could be affected by changes in work assignments, and that this was, as the Minister of Environment explained to me privately, pursuant to directives that are required by Treasury Board in the Workforce Adjustment Directive. Now, these key scientists, if I can just explain their positions, one is the manager for the World Centre for Ozone Monitoring and Data Centre. It's absolutely essential, and there's only one manager, and that person has received a letter they may be laid off. There is also a person who's responsible for the Ozone Sonde program, which allows weather balloons once a week to be let go in 17 locations across Canada, maintaining a very, very good record of ozone level measurements, which, by the way, tell us about tropospheric ozone as well. Ironically, while stratospheric ozone protects all life on Earth, ground level ozone is a pollutant. And in fact, measuring ground level ozone is a good way of maintaining monitoring of oil sands operations in the region. I'll get back to that point as well. And the other person who's been threatened is the person who does these scientific assessments. So my question for the Parliamentary Secretary, as I look at what we've heard so far, the Minister of Environment in this House said, quote, unquote, "We are not cutting any ozone monitoring services." In contradistinction to that, to the media, the Environment Canada Assistant Deputy Minister, Madam Dodds, has said, we don't really need the same level of ozone monitoring. So I'd like some guidance from the Parliamentary Secretary. It seems that certainly within the scientific community there are deep concerns that we are going to lose key capacity to protect the ozone layer, monitor what's happening in its protection, and at the same time lose the ability to monitor pollutants at ground level. And I'd like to know who was correct, the Minister of Environment in this House or the Assistant Deputy Minister when she suggested these key services could be lost.
Honourable Secretary
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment.
I would like to thank my colleague for her question. It's nice to have the opportunity to address her in the House for the first time on this lovely fall evening. Let me reiterate what the Minister of the Environment has repeatedly told this House. Environment Canada will continue to measure ozone. Our plan is to ensure Canada's strong track record of atmospheric ozone measurement continues to deliver sound science within budget. We acknowledge that Canada is a world leader in atmospheric ozone science and has been for 50 years. Many of the measurement methods used globally were pioneered by Canadians. In fact, Canada also holds the longest record of ozone observations in the Arctic in the world at Resolute Bay, where regular ozone measurements have been carried out since 1966.
Hear, hear.
At present, Environment Canada uses two different methods to measure ozone, the Brewer network and, as the member opposite has mentioned, the Ozone network. However, as the member opposite is well aware, technologies and methods of measurements change and improve over time. Our plan, rather than what the member opposite has suggested, is to optimize and integrate these two networks. This will include a review of existing network sites in terms of their scientific validity in order for Canada to fully meet its requirements for surveillance of ozone holes and the chemical composition of the atmosphere. Canada shares its ozone network data internationally via the World Meteorological Organization, the WMO, and for many years has maintained the World Ozone and Ultraviolet Data Center. The WMO supplies the data to other weather centers and agencies in Europe and in the US. Environment Canada is not closing the World Ozone and Environmental Data Center, which we have successfully hosted for many years. Environment Canada will have staff dedicated to both of these activities and continue to achieve quality of results. I repeat, Environment Canada will continue to measure ozone in the upper atmosphere, and we will not close the World Ozone and Ultraviolet Data Center.
The honour